Welcome back. Very encouraging words to the Chipukizi. Go, 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 says Jimmy James, and Bernard Ongoja says as well, Kenya should win this one just to give more faith to what the Kenyan teams should be doing. So some of the comments that are coming on Chipukizi's, play at the Nyayo Stadium over the weekend in the Rugby Under-20 World Cup. So keep them coming at Bernard_sports, at Kchege_sports, and at Wilfred Bungei is where the handles are at. Swimming is in murky waters. We have discussed this before, and I still do not know where the head or the tail is. There seems to be a big problem, and most recently, a letter stipulating that Kenya will be banned has been seen. Now, for Kenya to be banned, the question is who is going to suffer there? And actually, what is the problem? Now, talking to the factions has become impossible because each will blame the other side and will not tell you exactly what is going on. And there is the issue of a court case as well that is going on and a stabilization committee. So where are we in swimming? And that is why we decided today to talk to a stakeholder, not an official, but someone who's well-versed in matters Kenya swimming, a parent who has had award-winning swimmers for Kenya, for the national team as well, to talk to us about what's going on. Jerry Wakaba, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to us. The big question is, where are we in swimming? What's the problem?
Where are we? We are on the verge of a ban. And this ban will not affect the parents. It will affect the officials and the athletes. Actually, more so the athletes, because they'll be denied the right totally of presentation. Of course, right now, they're actually swimming under the white flag, which is actually like the refugee flag.
I was looking for results of Kenyans swimming in Fukuoka, in Japan. Mm-hmm. We know there are swimmers there.
Yes.
Why don't we have results of those swimmers?
Because
we can't get them.
Because you see, under the SMF banner, the World Aquatics has the right to deny accreditation to the athletes. So
are they swimming are they not swimming under the Kenyan flag?
No, they are swimming under the suspended member federation.
So that's like a neutral flag, like in
that's
the
like
same
a
way.
Country
that's the same status given to countries at war,
yes.
Countries that are under a lot of sanctions and all that.
Yeah, and are we at war? No.
What is the problem? Please explain to us. What is the problem?
You see, the issue here actually, the elephant in the room has been athletes' representation. So there's the universal suffrage way of voting, and there's the delegates' way of voting. The universal suffrage way is whereby, Bernard, you're a club who has 300 members. We have a club that has 20 members. So you, as what you're talking about representation, is that every member in your club should vote.
That's only 3 members, and you have 3,000 members.
Yes, exactly. So does that give you? Does that give the sport a level playing field?
No, the spirit of justice doesn't prevail there.
It doesn't. And then tell me, which federation in Kenya votes the universal suffrage way? Does the Sports Act even allow us to? Where in the Sports Act does it say that you can vote the universal suffrage way? It's always the delegates' way. Tell me one federation in Kenya that has voted the universal suffrage way. Then the other issue is there is the constitution that was passed and ratified by the stakeholders some time back, because again of the same thing, athlete representation. Apparently now we have a constitution that was passed, ratified by the stakeholders, which was done by the stabilization committee, who were appointed by the World Aquatics. If you look at these two constitutions, the current constitution that has been ratified and passed by the stakeholders has actual athletes representation. Why? Because it gives the athletes 16 athletes representation plus 4. It has an athletes commission. The athletes are supposed to vote and appoint their own representation. Isn't that not enough representation? Whereas the constitution that is now currently in court for interpretation has only the male and female representation. So in actual sense, World Aquatics has listened to the stakeholders, and they have said, you want representation of athletes, you have it in the constitution. So why are we even in court? Because when we talk about athletes representation, it's already there. It's already enacted in the constitution, the current constitution that has been passed. The constitution that Kenya Swimming Federation was going into voting on the 8th of July.
Did these elections take place?
No, they didn't.
Why not?
Because apparently the returning officer did not show up.
What happened to the returning officer?
Allegedly intimidation, allegedly.
He was allegedly intimidated.
Yeah, intimidation.
So he didn't turn
And
up.
then the previous night, was it the night before, the previous night, there was a letter that was written to the center of the board that had been appointed for the electoral board, contempt of court. Why? Because there's a stay in court, in the constitutional court, saying that Kenya Swimming Federations cannot hold any election until that matter is finalized. We've been going into the constitutional court for the last 3 years, waiting for the constitutional court to interpret the constitution of Kenya Swimming Federation.
In some federations, we have non-interference by stakeholders, such as going to local courts and things like that.
Well, what I'm not understanding,
wondering,
first of all, is where, I mean, then where do you start? Because there is something in court that stops the elections. The elections, in effect, if they are not done, means that then World Aquatics will ban Kenya.
Yeah.
So really, are we not shooting ourselves in the foot?
No, we've already shot ourselves in the foot. Because apparently, Bernard, as you know, Kenya Swimming Federation has been under interim management committee for the last 8 years. The World Aquatics said enough is enough. Their constitution gives them the right to actually appoint a stabilization committee. The stabilization committee was appointed by World Aquatics a year ago. They only had 6 months to come, do a constitution, ratify, and do elections. But we were such a nuisance, it took them a year. They came, they have done their mandate. They have given us a constitution, which was passed by the stakeholders. They have gone to the very end of even now holding the elections, but on the election morning, the returning officer doesn't show up. Yet, there's a letter clearly stipulating, if you do not hold elections by the 8th, according to the roadmap that had been drawn by the Stabilization Committee, we shall ban you.
Now, there's also the SDT in this as well. But let me ask Kenya, because most recently, Ken occasionally plays golf. He says he's a golfer, but we know 2 or 3 times a year. The rest of the time he's watching. And golf had a problem as well. But
yes.
Although it was in a simpler problem, it was just a question of merging under one federation, isn't it?
That was an issue of coming into compatibility with the Sports Act.
Because that is the other problem then,
with the Sports Act. And we have to get into compliance. But ours was much simpler because we had two bodies. So it was just a matter of the two bodies sitting down, agreeing how to merge.
You know, the thing is, there is no conflict between the World Aquatics Constitution and the Sports Act.
There's no conflict.
There is no conflict because the Sports Act says athletes representation. The current Kenya Swimming Federation, actually we are calling ourselves now the Kenya Aquatics Federation Constitution, is in line because it is so clear. It says athletes representation. And I can actually read for you what it says. It is so clear about what it says. It says there will be athlete representation. This is the criteria that we're going to use. It's 18 and above. There will be 16 of them. There will be a commission. They'll be elected by the athletes, not even as parents or what we call ourselves as stakeholders. It's actually the athlete. They have been given a chance to have their own representation in the executive board. So it is.
What do you think is the problem in all this? If you were told, come and sort this out, what do you think is the first thing you'd sort out?
First and foremost is let's bring down the egos and the self-interest and the self-centeredness.
Is Kenya Swimming or Kenya Aquatics in tandem with the Sports Act?
That's what I need us to know as
well. Is it in tandem?
Like I mentioned, there was something at the SDT, but we know again there's a problem with swimming and SDT. You know,
individuals.
So what happens? How would you sort this out? The egos are down. Assuming the egos are down.
The egos are down.
Yes.
First and foremost, let's lift that stay in court because,
in
fact, for the constitutional court to actually say they have stopped the elections. They don't understand. You see, the thing is, I'm not even very sure whether the constitutional court understand what our swimmers are going through. We cannot even be sitting down and saying swimmers' rights. We have,
you know, the court will only look at the
the
merit
and then
the case,
again,
and that's
you
it,
see, the thing is, you go to court and you tell the judge, look, our swimmers are swimming. So to them, the athletes are swimming. But what are they swimming under? They're swimming under a suspended member federation. I can tell you, there was a time that our kids went to a meet.
Does the sports minister know that our country is swimming under a suspended member federation flag?
I am so sure he does. I'm so sure he does.
I don't think he's comfortable with that at all.
Well, the thing is, if he's not comfortable with that, then
something he should have done. Something.
What needs to be done? What needs to be done?
Elections.
The egos are down. The elections. What is stopping the elections from being done?
Egos again.
So the egos are down. What do we do if the egos are down?
We had a board that was on unopposed, Bernard. The guys who were being elected on Saturday, the 8th, were unopposed. That just clearly tells you the Kenya Swimming Federation stakeholders are ready to work.
And the returning officer was coming from where?
Center for Governance.
Governance, yeah.
Something.
And he didn't have any protection, so he got intimidated.
Well, allegedly.
Allegedly intimidated.
Yeah, let's put it this way,
and that
allegedly.
stopped it. So if there was another one, then if somebody else was sent to supervise the elections, this would happen.
It will still happen because, again, I think you saw the ad on paper, contempt of court.
Who wrote this letter? that intimidated these guys and threatened them with dire consequences.
It's allegedly, so we don't know exactly.
No, the letter is actually there. The letter is the letter is there where it's been addressed.
In all this, what is suffering, just like in other cases before, we had cricket that had a problem, we had golf that had a problem. What is suffering here is actually the sport itself.
Yes.
And there are lots of young people who currently cannot go anywhere.
No, Bernard, we've lost a generation of swimmers. I can tell you today, we have no upcoming swimmers. I can tell you today, the number of elite athletes, we can count them. In fact, when I see 16, 20 members athletes representative, I'm actually wondering where will we get them? Because all our swimmers, the kids we used to see ripples in water, have outgrown this mess, this chaos, and they moved on. We can barely count the number of swimmers. In fact, we are recycling our elite swimmers in every other meet, which is wrong. And we are going to keep losing this.
We had swimmers right up to the World Swimming Championships.
Exactly.
And they were getting medals. The Danford sons were getting, the Danford brothers were getting medals.
Now, just go back 8 years ago and tell me, what have you seen in swimming? We've lost in this IMCs, the government not actually paying attention to swimming, because it does, because we are losing athletes. As much as swimming does not bring the cake home, yes, but we are losing kids who have so much potential. We are denying these kids the opportunity to showcase what they are actually made of. What would it take to withdraw the court case, for example? Because I don't understand I actually don't understand what the case is all about. But everybody does not understand, Bernard. The petitioners have been called on the table. Let's discuss. But that has always hit a brick wall. Why can't it be lifted then if no one understands the petition? It's only the constitutional court that can do that.
When did we last have elections, and how is it? I mean, doesn't a body break if you're registered under it's called the Companies Act or whatever it is, or Societies Act? You must hold elections within a certain period. Yes. If you go for too long, then you get disbanded automatically. If you read the war letter, it is very, very, very clear. You have not held elections on this period. We have actually been good enough and brought you a stabilization committee appointed by World Aquatics, not Kenya Swimming Federation, not the government, the IF. These guys have come, they have worked, they have done, and their mandate was very clear: constitution, election.
everything you're demanding in the constitution, and especially athlete representatives, it is there. Representation
is that a contentious issue? Is that what the other side
it
is
has been
contesting?
The contentious issue.
The athletes representatives, is that
yes,
what they're contesting?
Yes, it has been a very contentious
issue. Is there any
issue.
way of okay, who is supposed to, to remove this case from the Constitutional Court?
It's the petitioners.
And who are the petitioners?
The petitioners are two.
Two of them, and they're known.
And they are known. In fact, one used to sit in the IMC. One was the Secretary General of the Interim Management Committee.
But listen, there was an AGM. An AGM was held last Saturday. Right?
That is where they were going for elections.
Oh, that's where the elections were going to happen?
Yes.
And it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen.
So the AGM did not take place?
It did not take place.
All indications are that the Kenya Swimming Federation, or the new name that you're giving it,
Kenya
Aquatics.
Oh, yes.
Is this a good thing or not?
It's the worst thing. It's the worst thing that will happen to our athletes, Bernard, because we don't know how long this ban would be. 4 years, 2 years.
But if the federation has sunk that low, where there is no solution, what else would happen then? How would a ban might just be a case of serendipity? I mean, it would be just a blessing in disguise.
Well, we can say that. We can say that it could be a blessing in disguise, because it will get our act together, and the pride that we are seeing in some of these stakeholders might just come down. But at the end of the day, as much as we are talking about this, what about the swimmer? What about that child, Bernard, whose passion is swimming? What will happen to them? Because first and foremost, we will not associate ourselves with any member. Any country cannot host you as a Kenyan.
You can't even swim in Uganda or Tanzania.
You can't swim in Uganda, you can't swim in Tanzania. Your times will not be recognized. What are we going to do? We are going to waste our athletes.
So,
this is difficult.
This is very difficult because...
Well, let's get your comments. I mean, as we go on the swimming issue as well, at Bernard_sports, at KChege_sports, and at Wilfred Bungay. Let's hear what you have to say about it. Let's take a look at what's going on in terms of the fixtures while we think about whether or not we want Kenya to be banned from swimming. Apparently, we can't swim in Uganda, although you can swim in the lake, it's for free. You can't swim in Tanzania, you can swim in the ocean, but that's not for competition.
Yeah.
We're talking about competition swimming where swimmers have actually won medals before. What's on the fixtures? What do we have for the weekend?
So we have the Wimbledon semi-finals happening tomorrow for the men.
Well, let's start with the big one. The FIFA Women's World Cup is just about to begin as well, and I think New Zealand are the defending champions, and they are not taking anything to chance.
Yes.
This is going to happen in a big way. It's in Australia and New Zealand.
Australia and New Zealand. Yes. This is starting next week, the 20th, and it's a whole month extravaganza. 32 teams taking place, and let's see what happens in that one.
All right. There's a lot of World Cups going on at the moment. I think there's the Netball World Cup that is just about to start as well. Okay, July 28th and August 6th. That is in South Africa. And the nearest country we know that is going for that is Uganda. I don't know what happened to the Kenya Netball Association. I think recently they had a tournament, but they're not doing very well. At some point there was a slump as well in netball. And so this one, again, is not going to be coming to the East African side, especially to Kenya. I think Uganda has a strong team that has gone there as well. There's also the tennis championships that is going on, Wimbledon, and there's been some shock results as well. First of all, the world number one, I think, was knocked out, Ken, wasn't he?
Yes. No.
And so we have the semi-final.
The ladies that
Gafia versus Medvedev and Sina versus Djokovic.
Center court happening tomorrow. And they are going to set up the final for Sunday.
This is in the semi-finals, isn't it?
This is the semi-final, and the ladies will play their finals on Saturday. They already played their semis this afternoon.
Yep, I think there was Shockwave sent across Wimbledon. Iga Swiatek was beaten 7-5, 6-7, and 6-2. That was by Elena, and that was the biggest shock of it all. But the joke seems like he's on course to making another record appearance at the Wimbledon Championships that is ongoing. Now, what else is going on?
Closer home, of course, the World Under-20 Rugby is taking place on Saturday. We have Scotland, Zimbabwe before Samoa take on Kenya at 12 o'clock, Nyayo Stadium. Uruguay, USA, and Spain, Hong Kong. And the next match day will be next week, Thursday, 20th of July, when Kenya will be taking on Spain at 4 o'clock, Samoa face Hong Kong at 10, Uruguay, Zimbabwe at noon, Scotland, USA at 2 o'clock. All the matches taking place at Nyayo Stadium. And
well then,
rugby related as well. Now the World Under-20 Rugby Cup Championship now, that's taking place in Cape Town. There were matches this afternoon. I think you were right, you said earlier that Ireland have beaten France. And of course, we have the FKF promotional playoff.
Oh, that's the
first match this weekend.
The third place. The third place promotional playoff.
Yes,
okay.
That's Migori Youth versus Wazito on Saturday at Migori.
All right. Okay, so that's what is going to go on over the weekend, and we're just about to come to a close in this program. But Jerry, I'll give you one more chance to tell us, what should we do? You as stakeholders, what is your prayer to all these institutions that you're saying are actually holding the future of the young generation in swimming? And I think there was a mention of the sports register, there's a mention of the SDT, there's a mention of the courts, and now there's a mention of the egos in the factions. What's your appeal to them?
Our appeal is let the two stakeholders withdraw the case in court, because actually it doesn't serve anything for the stakeholders. It's no longer making sense anymore, because if we're going to face a ban, what will that case do for the swimmers in Kenya? That's number one. Number two, let us hold elections. Let Kenya Kenya Aquatics hold their elections. Bernard, we have a constitution, a country constitution. Is it cast in stone? No. We keep amending. And let us have office bearers, bona fide elected office bearers. Let us rescue swimming. The constitutional court is not going to help us, because for the last 3 years, we've been waiting for them to make a decision. The Stabilization Committee has done their work, diligently, by the way. Now we are facing a ban from World Aquatics. This is our last stroke as Kenya Swimming.
Ken, that's a very, very emotional appeal. What's your comment before we close? Because we're just about to close the program.
Bernard, I just don't understand how two individuals seem to hold the whole country at ransom, because swimming is a countrywide sport. They're holding it. What we stand to lose, I don't know why people don't see what even our own officials, we cannot get accreditation, we get a chance to go and officiate, we cannot go and get trained.
But then for the last 2 years, Bernard, our coaches have not attended any
training.
Yeah.
It's a pity. It's a pity.
So, yeah.
Well, we don't usually condone government interference, they say in sports, but isn't this one of those moments when you'd like government interference in this?
Yeah.
You see, the thing is,
arbitration is still a process.
This is a very tricky situation also, because government interference might actually bring, it constitutes to bigger problems for us with the World Aquatics.
Arbitration part of it as well, which can be.
Do we really want another IMC, Bernard? No.
But I'm talking about the egos and all this. The retraction of the cases. We'll take. We'll appoint another IMC, which is going to take another year again. Really? Surely? Can we just hold the elections that we were meant to hold? Okay.
And we move on, because when we start saying government interference, it's appointment of another IMC.
I hear you. A very passionate appeal, Jerry Wakaba, talking to us about what's happening in swimming and praying that people should just bring their egos down and hold the elections. And now that process of holding the elections is what is actually holding the elections from being held. So somebody do something about that. Look, we got to go now. We'll try and make some other time to be able to talk about this issue again in depth to find out what the problem. I wish we could get everybody here to talk to them to just do what is right. But for now, there is a ban looming in the Kenya Swimming Federation. Unfortunately, not much is being done about it. We have to go now. We're out of time. Thank you for watching. We'll be back again next week to talk to you more about sports on the Scoreboard.